see the star trend. See that? Yeah, still. Or whatever. Who's that? Martin Zeller, Gear Daddies.
Oh.
And he said he's have some problems now remembering the lyrics. Oh, yeah, it's just kind of memory muscles or something he's trying to say. So he's got his son playing. I know.
Well, I've got 6 o'clock. Call us to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Credit River Planning Commission. We're a group of local residents, your neighbors, appointed to serve the community by reviewing development proposals and land use matters in accordance with the city's ordinances. As a quasi-judicial body, our role is not to advocate for or against any proposal, but rather to ensure that each application is reviewed based on facts presented, applicable law, and policies established in our comprehensive plan. Our goal is to uphold a process that is fair, transparent, and consistent. Public hearings are a vital part of this process. They provide opportunities for community members like you to speak, share your concerns, and offer input into the public record. Your comments are important and help us shape the future of Credit River. The following is the general order for public hearings. Staff will present a summary of the project along with the staff findings and reports. Commissioners may then ask questions following the presentation. The applicant will then have the opportunity to speak and respond to questions from commission members. And then the chair will open up the public floor for public comment. If you choose to speak, please come to the podium, clearly state your name and address for the record, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. After public comment, the hearing will be closed by the commission, at which time they may hold further discussion and consider possible action. As a recommending body, we do not have the authority to approve or deny applications. We simply serve as a recommending body only, and final decisions are made by the city council. Thank you for being here and for taking part in your local government. And with that, I will take a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. On tonight's agenda, we have the one item on consent agenda and one public hearing. And so we will go to the consent agenda. Those items that are considered routine or non-controversial are included in the consent agenda. Unless a planning commission member specifically requests that an item on the consent agenda be removed and considered separately, items on the consent agenda are considered under one motion, second, and vote. Any item removed from the consent agenda shall be placed at the end of general business. So tonight we just have the meeting minutes from the May 15th meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
We've got a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next up this evening is our public hearing. This is on proposed ordinance amendment to section 20-4, and planning commission members have received the following items: the staff report, the Credit River uses table for CUP and IUP changes, and an IUP memo to the council. So I would ask staff if they would wish to introduce this item.
Yes, good evening, Planning Commission. This is the public hearing with the proposed amendments for the Credit River use table. The items that are shown in bold are proposed to be the amended. In this instance, it's not language, it's a marker for interim use to replace several of our uses that are currently conditional use permits based on discussion that we had at our last May Planning Commission meeting, as well as some of the summarization within that staff memo to the council that kind of started this whole conversation. So really from what was proposed or shown for discussion in the May meeting is what's represented here in the draft ordinance with the changes from C to I. I know that it's not as noticeable in this form as it was last month. We had it in red. We said IUP, but we really just, the code already has it as an I in the table. So we adjusted it in this would be the format that it'd be uploaded onto the website, et cetera. So just wanted to make sure it was consistent with how it was currently going. And again, I know it's harder to tell on the small cells in the chart, but yeah, no, I didn't add any other changes from what was discussed at the May meeting. So that's my update.
Thank you very much. Do we have anyone here who wishes to speak on this item tonight? Well, we're opening up the public forum, by the way. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Anyone who wishes to ask questions or make public comment? Going 3 times. All right, seeing none, may I get a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
All those in, or do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Planning Commission members, do you have questions or thoughts that you wish to share?
I guess I got one thing, so I guess being that we're switching a lot of the stuff from conditional to interim.
Mhm.
I guess part of the reason or the nice part about doing that, it almost seems like we could open it up to more areas
Mhm.
because we have more control. Do you think, like, for some of them, they're just commercial or they're just industrial? Would it make sense to make them both?
Oh, like allowed in the commercial and industrial
Mhm.
district?
Just being that since they're interim use, just being that we have more control over it now.
Sure. I think at this time, it looks like so we've got like yard waste and tree composting site
Mhm.
that's only allowed in industrial and portable concrete asphalt mixing plants that are only allowed
Right.
in industrial. Those do feel like slightly heavier
Yeah, no,
uses.
yeah, yeah.
And I guess I didn't, yeah, as part of this really just looked more at kind of what the conditional versus interim was versus the use itself in the district.
Right.
But it's
If I can find good example.
or like kennel with 5 to 25 dogs. That's on right now. We didn't change that to IUP. It's an existing IUP, but it probably could be an IUP in the industrial district. I don't know. I mean, why that?
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, like restaurant, I mean, I guess, yeah, we're probably not gonna want. It's probably not. There's a few that seem like they jumped out a little more before, but. Yeah, no, I mean, otherwise, I think it all looks pretty good.
Other comments or questions?
Well, is this the chance to, I mean, there's some activities just prohibited within the city. I mean, is there any discussion or should there be discussion to add to that list? That we just frankly, we don't currently have and maybe never want to have? I mean, I don't see nuclear reactor site down here as prohibited.
Is that public utility?
Oh, joking.
I was trying to figure out the class, that's all.
Yeah, right now, the way that the code pretty much works is if the list, if it's not explicitly listed on this table, it's not allowed. Obviously, too, there are some that are allowed in some districts and not in others. And again, yeah, if it's not expressly, so you know, a lot of the times it comes up, we get questions about, can I have an Airbnb? Can I have a short-term rental? Well, short-term rental is a separate use than a full-time rental. Of course, the city can't prohibit somebody from renting out a house full-time for a family to live in or something like that due to fair housing laws, but we can prohibit short-term rentals, and because it's not listed here, cannot operate that. You cannot do that.
Yeah.
That's just one that we get phone calls about often, so that's why I bring that specific use up.
Good, but to me, it's, that's helpful, but I mean, I can envision, you know. I think a little bit of problem is if we don't say prohibited in some things,
Mhm.
then people assume they can do it, then they come before us, and then we look at it like a bad guy to saying we don't want it. Right?
Mhm.
Then we get in trouble. And so forth. I mean, truck stop is number 105.
Mhm.
I don't know that that's really exciting to get approved in the city. So should it be available as even, you know, or can't we just make it prohibited?
Yeah, there's not an existing one currently. I mean, no, I didn't think so, because I mean, we wouldn't wanna,
Probably would stop, it's the closest one.
yeah, which is not,
So, qualifies as one.
Yeah, so I mean, and this is going. Change, I mean, it's not, if someone owns a business or is doing something allegedly approved currently, if we change it, does it, are they grandfathered in? Or,
yeah, so essentially, until they would wanna expand something or change something, then they'd have to come in compliance with the updated regulations, but if they're not violating a permit or something like
Sure.
that, they'd be able to operate under a conditional use until said time that, yeah, either they say, oh, we wanna add an expansion to this building. All right, you gotta get up to date with what the city now
Yeah.
requires. But I mean, we certainly probably should look at these uses. I know that there's been some discussion at the council level to have the commission start looking into the ordinances at some point. Since the hearing was noticed for IUP CUP changes, we wouldn't want to recommend any like removing a use today, but absolutely something that we can look at as a commission, and then also on a staff level, if that's a direction that you know, we were to be given by the council. But I will say there's definitely room for improvement in the code to be more clear about that. If it's not listed, it's prohibited. It took me a while to find that, and even when I was putting this together, trying to find it again in the code.
Yeah.
So that definitely
I see what you're saying, so, okay, I mean, if someone wants to come in town and put in a, you know, 8 football wide, server farm for AI. It's not, would, they'd have to come in and get it added as number 113?
correct.
I see, okay.
Yeah. Some ordinances have language that says, you know, if there's a similar use that comes in, the applicant can, you know, bring a case to the city council for the council to determine a like use. You guys don't have any language like that. It's,
Okay.
if it's not in here, it's not allowed. And I prefer that language usually because the council doesn't want to make a decision on a like use. This is much more clear. Usually they don't want to in this
Yeah.
other community that has that language. Every time it comes on their agenda, they're not very thrilled about it. So
The intended flexibility isn't serving as well as the clarity of
yeah, and that
clear yes or no.
I think too, there's definitely flexibility in some, I'd say the largest one, let's say, for example, like, if somebody were to come in and want to operate, like you have private stable, you have a definition, you have that could also fall based on your definitions under ag and those types of uses too. So there's some flexibility within how it's defined, how
Yeah.
their plan of use of the property, you know, actually comes forward too. So it's strict, but there's always room for interpretation in an ordinance.
Yeah.
So
Since that wasn't noticed tonight, and if the council is interested, I would support, you know, us looking and making some recommendations.
yeah.
At a later date,
Yep.
because I understand exactly what you're saying, Dave.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, at that point, we'd just be clear on the public posting that we're discussing, it'd be amendments to the allowed uses,
Yes.
et cetera, something like that. But yeah, I understand what you want to do, but we gotta be within the realm of how the public hearing was noticed.
I just noticed driving to work every day that the Buckingham looks to be busting at the seams and. It would be nice, I guess, to get ahead of it and make the case, we don't really want garbage transfer station in
Yeah.
the city. We don't think that's the best use of our land. But without it being specifically prohibited, I don't know if we could stop that. I mean, we could stop it, but it just seems like you let the process get started versus, cutting it off ahead of time.
Mhm.
Including, what was the other one I noticed here? I guess it's specifically listed. I mean, sexual oriented businesses. Really see the city being thrilled with it, going down that road right now. That would be an example, say, well, we're just not gonna do it.
There are some uses that do have court cases that you do have to allow, and sexually oriented businesses might be one of those. I will double check that for you, but
Bad example that.
yeah, but I understand, which is why it's in the industrial, it's kind of like with the cannabis. We had
Yes.
to allow them in certain, I mean, we could put restrictions on, we could say you have to be 10 acres and we only want one for the retail store, but yeah.
Well, and I acknowledge it's a slippery slope, right? So you could go overboard and like, oh, I don't want this type of church, so let's prohibit it up front, right?
Right, but I understand some of those more intense uses that, as, the city visioning committee and the comprehensive plan matches that, you wanna stay within this, character that you have now. There's some commercial, some industrial, and it might grow. Small to the right type of businesses.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the key there, is the right type of businesses,
Mhm.
so, yeah.
Meat packing on here?
I don't think, no, there's manufacturing, processing, packaging, or assembly.
Rendered.
Seeing that's, that you could get under manufacturing, processing, packaging, or assembly. Is that, what does that? Again, I could pull the definition up and it might be a little clearer, but
What's railroad row?
right of way.
Right away, got it.
Yeah. Any questions on your end, Thane?
No, I don't have anything that hasn't already been addressed.
Did we ever figure out what the large assembly kind of pertains to?
Yeah, so it is that like one-time permit type, like you're gonna have a parade or you're gonna have a large block party.
So if you're having like a
etc.
private.
Yeah, because it has some standards for like porta potties and that type of stuff. So yeah, it's for like that kind of
Sure.
one time you need to register with the city anyways. Event. Yeah.
Nice. That makes sense.
What's limited livestock raising?
That's one that doesn't have a definition that follows it, so I'm guessing that is a takeover from the Scott County ordinance that you've all inherited. That pieces
Yeah.
seem to be missing.
And it looks like it's in just R3, urban
Right.
expansion reserve, and then UERC.
Yeah, and you have to have 10 acres or more, which I
Yeah.
mean, it's not surprising, but it's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Cause there's also obviously regulations on your parcel size and animal units and all of that, that's
Yep.
separate from
Mm-hmm.
the use itself.
Yeah. Well, overall, I'm really glad that this has been brought forward. It modernizes our use table. And, from that perspective, I think it starts to add some of the clarity that we've been talking about. At previous meetings and as we've discussed this evening. Offering us some more logical choices in, in certain uses. And so, to me, it seems like the proposed switch from conditional to interim where we've made the proposal makes a lot of sense. I have to say, in addition to, the couple of examples that have been brought up, I am curious forest game management's okay in urban expansion reserve, but that doesn't necessarily include the southern part of um, the community, which is, I think, rural residential.
Yep.
There's one, that might be kind of interesting, as well.
Mhm.
And I don't know how that applies to parks or those kinds of uses, but
Yep.
occurred to me. I also didn't immediately see schools over 150 and where they would fall. And maybe that's because I missed it, but I was curious because I saw under 150, but I didn't see over 150.
You must not allow them. We don't want big schools here now. I don't know.
Well, and it's not necessarily a pertinent question right now, but at some point it could be with two school districts of fairly significant size, the concept of, expansion of their districts if they're at that stage and where geographically they would need to place a school, that might be something that
Mhm.
would need to be considered.
Mhm.
So I was just curious about that. And I think the other one that made me chuckle was towers less than 35 feet for personal use.
Yeah, there must have been some sort of permits that came through when it was for Scott County that they,
Cool.
yeah,
Greenhouse.
Yeah, I
yeah.
was gonna say treehouse.
Water slide.
And that's actually another, Albert, just because that one says AD for every single use, which is
Yeah.
administrative use, we actually don't have a form for that. And we've discussed that at a staff
Okay.
level. At this
Yeah.
time, we're just not addressing that.
Yeah.
Because we know there's more work to do on the code. And we're
Yeah.
just trying to
And-
take what we can, but the AD is a little,
That
unknown at this.
yeah, that sounds like something to look into as well.
Yeah.
So
We're like a top golf though.
Oh.
'Cause I could see her bringing one of those and yeah, that'd be fun.
Oh.
Golf course driving range is saying it does not called commercial or industrial.
No, because I think they're all located right now within your neighbor. I mean, Legends is surrounded by neighborhood.
mhm.
Cleary is surrounded by, yeah.
Yeah.
Um. I'd have to check in the
Heritage.
definition if Topgolf is, I guess it's a driving range, but it's also, it's more than a driving range. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to check the definition.
It's a bar with a driving range.
Yeah, exactly. And full restaurant and
Yep.
they're building a new one in Woodbury.
All
Right on
right.
494. Yeah.
Are there any other questions or comments at this point? If not, can I get a recommendation to the council for their consideration in the form of a motion?
You're looking for a motion to approve the changes, is that correct?
If you want to recommend denial too, you can,
I
but
just want to get the language.
yeah, I think we'd be looking for a motion to recommend consideration to the council.
I will make that motion to recommend to the council approval of our changes to the conditional use permit. No, not conditional use. What are we calling this?
Use table?
Use table. Thank you.
I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Oh, second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Motion carries 4-0. With that being the last item on our agenda this evening, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
will second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you for your time this evening. Have a good evening, everyone.
Limited lifestyle. Fine.